Hi, I'm Jennifer, and I've been working with cats since I can remember. I actually grew up in the state of Washington, and back in the 70s and 80s, there wasn't this cat situation that we see now. But I was always bringing some poor stray cat home, taking care of the injured cats in the neighborhood, and I guess I should have known that somehow that was going to lead to some massive volunteer work with cats. So here I am, many decades later, still working with cats, just in a completely different capacity, a little more formal capacity. And basically, I am a TNR advocate, and I bust my butt all through the city of Phoenix, TNRing as many cats as possible. For anybody who does not know what TNR is, that means trap, neuter, or if it's a female, of course, spay, and then return them back to where you trapped them from. The goal of TNR, of course, is to try to reduce cat overpopulation in our community by getting them fixed, stopping the cycle of kittens. And it also basically leads to happy, healthier cats and a happy, healthier community. So I'm actually the person that people call when they are dealing with people who are resistant. I tend to be very level-headed, I tend to be very approachable, and I tend to be able to have conversations with people that previously conversations haven't gone well with them regarding what's going on in their area with cats. I work with the people far more than I do the cats. There is a huge people component, and you don't have to love people, but you have to be able to communicate with people. Unfortunately, at least here in the greater Phoenix area, cats are kind of labeled as this nuisance animal. So for a lot of people, they're nothing different than a rat. They're considered, it's an infestation of cats. I hear that a lot from people. It's a problem. It's a cat problem. So, the general attitude is always one of negativity. Well, I shouldn't say always, but the general attitude from people in the area that I'm doing the TNR in really does seem to have this negative bend to it. And it really is unfortunate because cats have a huge benefit to the community when you get TNR done and get the population stabilized. And really, I think what people are most surprised to learn is if you were to remove every cat, like let's say this particular street has 50 cats. Now, for a one block area, that could seem excessive to the average person. But when you explain to them that, okay, let's say I come in and I take all 50 of these cats. Guess what happens in 2 weeks? A cat from over here is like, oh, would you look at that? There's no cats here. Whistles for its little buddies, and all of a sudden now you have 7 cats that you never saw before. And now those 7 cats breed rather quickly, and you're right back to 50 in 6 months. So it's the vacuum effect. All you have done is basically open up space for more cats to come in. So once they realize, okay, that's not going to do anything except give me a few week period where I don't have cats, and now you have cats, new cats coming in, trying to establish territories, trying to establish dominance. So now you have cat fighting that maybe wasn't happening with an established colony. So really helping them understand that having a fixed, stabilized population is of benefit to them in the long run. And that's definitely something that has surprised a lot of people. And the best way to get their cooperation and their buy-in is education and helping them understand the benefit of having the cats, helping them understand what happens if the cats go away. They've realized after conversations, after seeing what happens when the cats come back, that, oh, hey, TNR actually kind of works and is a benefit. Relocation is tricky. Everybody wants the cats relocated, and there's always a reason. Oh, the caregiver died, nobody wants to take over feeding them, or neighbors don't like cats, they're being threatened, they're being poisoned, this, that. I very rarely ever start a conversation about TNR without, well, could you take them somewhere? Where do you want me to take them? So first off, it's illegal, and second off, it's very difficult to relocate a cat, period. But let alone a community cat. So when a cat is in a colony, or even if it's just 2 or 3 cats in this one particular area, that's home. They know their surroundings, they know the threats, they know where to stay warm, they know where to keep cool, they know where to get food, they know where to get water, they know who to trust, they know who to be wary of. So they've figured all of this out, and now you take them from that. and you throw them somewhere else. Maybe it's a company that comes out and removes the cats and dumps them in the desert. Maybe it's an individual that starts trapping and dumping them wherever. That's a death sentence. You know, a lot of people have this idea that somehow cats can live on whatever prey they go after. Not normally, and especially if there's a lot of cats. I mean, if you have 100 cats saturated in an area, all competing for rodents and all catching rodents, even though they breed like crazy, there's not going to be enough. I mean, they're going to just starve to death. They're going to get sick. They're going to die pretty ugly deaths for a cat. Actually, the first cat I got here in Arizona showed up in my backyard, and she didn't leave for a week. So, brought her in, took her to the vet. She had a microchip. She was registered in Mesa. I was living in Phoenix. She's 22 miles away by freeway. How she got to me, no idea. So take her back. Instantly got the most wretched feeling when I went to that house. Like this, I mean, the only reason I knew the cat belonged there was the dog was so excited to see her, and she was excited to see the dog. But the people, yeah. So I get a phone call a few months later. We moved to Tennessee. Oh, okay. The cat's at the house if you want her. If people were held accountable and caught doing it, then yes. I mean, if there was something hard and firm associated with them doing that thing, then it might at least make them think twice about it. I think it's really tough here because I mean, the overpopulation, both of dogs and cats. I mean, it's a huge problem here, abandonment of dogs as well. And unfortunately, they have this idea, which it's not, you know, it's not correct, that it's a cat, it'll survive. Somebody's going to take care of it, or it can eat birds, it can eat mice. Yeah, but I mean, a house cat that's suddenly just out fending for itself is going to be confused. It's going to be scared. It's not really going to know how to integrate itself into a colony right away. They figure it out. I mean, you know, they do integrate into a colony, but until the view of the cat changes, I think we're going to still see abandonment. And if there's no repercussion for doing it, if I were to call up the City of Phoenix Police Department and say, hey, so, you know, so-and-so is removing cats that I've TNR'd or cats that I care for, I'd like to have them arrested because they're committing, at this point, a misdemeanor under this statute, I would either get dead silence or I would get laughed at. The law never steps up because they're cats. There are some organizations like the Animal Defense League of Arizona that are put into place to try to assist to a certain degree. But, you know, the trickiest part, especially when you're talking about cats disappearing, the threat of relocating cats, the threat of trapping cats and killing them, disposing of them, whatever the case may be, you have to have proof from start to finish. So you just can't go relocate cats easily. You know, we do have some programs out there that are called working cat programs, and those can be a fantastic solution on a very small scale for individual cats that do need to be relocated for a really, really good reason. But there's an acclimation period involved, and again, we don't have a science as to how long a cat needs to stay contained and confined in a large, safe space to get used to its new surroundings. But, you know, the general consensus is 4 weeks. And so that gets them used to where they'll be living and gets them used to all the sights and the smells. But we have no proof that it's really in their best interest to be relocated. You have a whole other subset, though, where you're dealing with apartment management, HOAs, things like that. That's different than just a couple of really fired up people in the neighborhood that don't love the neighborhood cat lady that's feeding all these cats. Completely different ball game. Even though it is legal to feed cats in the state of Arizona because they are considered protected, and they're community cats, so they're free roaming. A pet cat can be free roaming, so you know cats actually have rights in the state of Arizona. Unfortunately, management of properties can also have agreements in those leases about what you can and cannot do on property. And again, it comes down to educating them and helping them understand, look, if you have certain people in whether it's a mobile home park, whether it's an apartment complex, whether it's an HOA for a housing development, if you have well-established feeding stations for these cats where they know that they can go when you get these cats fixed and you have a nice healthy colony, these are the benefits to your community. It's interesting when cats get abandoned and kind of going back to that and get placed into these feral colonies, because a lot of times people think, oh, they're getting fed over here, so I'm just going to dump this cat. I have one particular location, I get jump jobs a lot, and it breaks my heart. And watching them assimilate into the colonies and adapt the behavior of the colony is always interesting. And it really doesn't take too long for an abandoned pet cat to kind of revert back to that people shyness and the people wariness. And I think a lot of people don't understand that when they abandon cats, is you're doing the cat a disservice of it potentially getting adopted down the road, because they're going to mimic the behavior of the cats around them. So if you dump them into a colony where the feeder literally never sees the cats because they are so scared and they remain out of sight until the feeder leaves, the cat that you just abandoned is eventually going to adapt that behavior and now become people unfriendly. When you think of a feral cat, most people actually are thinking of some hissing, spitting, aggressive tomcat that's going to come after them. And that's not it. Feral is a reactive behavior to something that they're not used to. So if they're not used to people and a person comes into their space, well, it's just like if somebody broke into my house, I'm going to go feral on them. But this particular colony, oh my gosh. So I've sat on a feral cat there. I had my first feral cat I sat on, and oops, just sort of, I was squatting down and I just tipped back a little bit, and next thing I'm sitting on a feral cat, and he and I both exited very gracefully, and now we're great friends, and he comes and he actually will kind of crawl in my lap now. So who knew that sitting on a feral cat would, create that trust where he's like, oh, yeah, all right, cool, you sat on me. Feral is a behavior. So there's no such thing, it's not a breed of cat, a type of cat, it's not a classification of a species. It took them months to get acclimated to me. And by acclimated, meaning they didn't run off when I showed up to feed them. And then it took another few months for them to get excited to see me. So, when I pull up, they hear my car coming, they start turning in circles, bunny hopping. They are so excited to see me. And then, with certain members of the colonies that I care for, then another few months later, they rub up against me. They put their little paws on the back of my car as I'm fixing the food. They start to allow pets. So, you have, unfortunately, this misconception about what a feral cat is. And so again, it's just this behavior. True feral cat isn't just going to be sitting there hanging out and you walk up and then just goes for you, contrary to popular belief. Aside from every cat magically sterilized. Actually, what I would really love, and I know this technology is out there and possible, I would love it if there was something we could put in the cat food for all the colonies that we care for that would basically birth control. That would be amazing, because unfortunately in Maricopa County, we don't really know the actual numbers. There are rumors that there are 400,000 unfixed cats wandering the streets. It's an impossible task to figure out how many cats are out there, but if there was free access to some kind of birth control that we could give to our colonies that would prevent, that basically renders them sterilized, but that opens up a whole question of ethics, and it gets tricky. That's what I would love to see. I would love to only have to feed cats and not have to fix cats. I would love it if people just had a better awareness of what we are trying to accomplish and give us just a little more support, whether that's financial support, whether that's assisting with transportation. We get, on top of just, hey, can you come fix these cats? We get requests all the time. Well, the kittens are friendly, or, oh, a friendly cat was dumped over here, and all these other layers of help that people would like. And a lot of people, however, they want the help, but they don't want to do anything. And we need a lot more community involvement and community support because we're all volunteers. You know, I'm a single self-employed mom. I do this on the side in my free time. This is my hobby. You know, this is what I do when I want to relax. And I get every night after dinner, I go and I feed 8 different colonies, 160 cats. So not only am I TNRing, but I'm a colony caregiver. And so, you know, but nobody else would do it. So I would love to see a more structured plan out there to help so somebody like me doesn't have to go 7 days a week and feed 160 cats. A lot of people don't ever really think about volunteering in a capacity of doing TNR, being a colony caregiver, you know, because there's other people out there that do that. But, you know, as stressful as it can be and as frustrating as it can be and as sad as it can be sometimes, it is also there's so many awesome moments. And so it's a big task to be a colony caregiver. It's a big task to do TNR. But there are great moments that come out of it. And you know, I think that's what the general public doesn't get to see. You know, they just see the cats laying around, in their opinions, not doing much of anything. And it's the caregivers that really get to see, you know, their little personalities and all the cool stuff. And cats are, they're really neat to just sit there and watch sometimes. And so there's a lot of positive about doing what we do, being involved in rescue, despite, you know, all the kind of quirky things that we have to deal with. And sometimes you form great friendships with the people that you help. So there's a lot to it, and it's very rewarding despite being a lot of hard work.
We went out with Jennifer after it got dark to get footage of her feeding the colonies that she takes care of every night. While we were out and going through one neighborhood, there was a little black dog that came running up the road toward the car. So she stopped, Shelly got out, the dog ran to Shelly, and she brought it into the car. Well, to make a long story short, Jennifer took the time, she found someone to watch the dog overnight. She made flyers, posted them in the neighborhood where the dog was found, and she found the owner. What an amazing reunion this was.
It's your mama. Sorry, I got a video. This is, oh my goodness, look at this mama. Oh God. There's your mama. Oh my baby, I miss you. Oh, I love you so much. Oh, this is the best.